to heat that cookie up.
Recording.
What? This is so not fun.
So,
See? It's having fun. I don't want to yell at.
actually, I said at the beginning of class that we weren't going to get through the whole alarm rim, but we are going to get through the whole alarm rim, at least as a survey. So, even though the class was called lower and medium scopes, we've already been talking about the greater scope and the whole bodhisattva thing. So here's the thing. Here's Mahayana in less than 10 minutes, okay?
Express crash course.
Basically, the other thing you might notice is that there's a certain body of study for each of these levels also, right? There was refuge and karma for the first level. There was the death awareness contemplations, the cultivating of bodhicitta. Well, at the bodhisattva level, the practice is the 6 perfections. So really, at level 5, you have perfected the 6 perfections. And each of the 6 perfections leads to the next. And you actually don't get on, I think I've said this in another class, and they don't cover it in this one, but since it's kind of an overview, I'll just say it again, is that there are 10 levels of a bodhisattva which start at the path of seeing. So you don't even get on the first bhumi, the first level, until you have seen emptiness directly. And at that level, you have perfected giving. Okay? So that might be a clue as to some of the virtue that could contribute
Is
to
that.
that.
The 6th perfection, the perfection of giving?
Yeah, is the
When
first.
you come to that of seeing.
When you're on the first level, it means that that's the perfection that you're perfecting. So maybe you haven't perfected it yet, but that's the,
Okay, so the training goes on.
yeah, so out of the 10 levels of a bodhisattva, the first 6 levels are perfecting each of the perfections. Okay?
And level 4?
We'll talk about that when we get there. But by the time you are actually, once you perfect the 6th level, then you're really at the level of an arhat. Okay? What was the definition of an arhat?
Someone who has seen the emptiness directly.
That's an arya.
Oh, that's not.
An arya is someone who has seen emptiness directly.
Affliction.
Someone who has had a complete cessation of all their mental afflictions,
84,000 afflictions.
which means, where are they? In nirvana. Yeah. So at the level, like once you're at level 7, 8, 9, right? They say once you're a 10th level bodhisattva, you're just going to flop over. You're not enlightened yet, but you're pretty damn close. Okay? That's actually not the review. The review is that we really want to understand what the 6 perfections are, because those are the training wheels to get us, like this is where we really, really want to maximize on those training wheels, right? So the first one I already gave you. This is also a reason why I love Tibetan Heart Yoga Series 1, because you do all of these actually, and then you're working both inner and outer methods, right? Because you're doing the yoga also. So the first perfection is the perfection of giving. Do you guys remember all the different types of giving?
Giving dharma, giving
Material assistance.
Giving material assistance,
giving dharma, giving material assistance, and from fear.
giving protection from fear,
Protection from fear.
Is it?
and love. Sometimes they say 3, sometimes they say 4. The 4th one is love. But the
Freedom of fear, giving materials, and the most important is giving dharma.
yeah, because do you know why?
Yes, because giving because dharma would lift them out of the samsara
Yes.
world.
Teaching
Versus
them
give
dharma.
money and they can spend it and they can ease their
And it's
time
gone.
for a little time, but
Yeah.
then it will wear off.
Exactly. So teaching Dharma is teaching someone the tools to help themselves, right? It's really the highest protection you can give. So you actually cover a couple of the givings with that. Second perfection is the perfection of, they say ethics or morality, but Geshe likes to call it the perfection of kindness. Because that really is what, if you understood the true causes of all of your suffering, truly, you would want to be nothing but kind, right? Because that brings you everything that you want and need. Third one is translated as the practice of patience. What it really means is not getting angry. And it doesn't mean not getting angry just because you're calling it something else. It means that when everything is absolutely ripe, that by all appearances, you would be absolutely justified to be in a full-blown rage, because of wisdom, you don't do it. And actually, you get to a point when you perfect this that you actually can't get angry. Like, it's just doesn't, there's no you know, Lama Maru often says that you can't have a frustrating person if you're not frustrated. So if you can have a cessation of frustration, no matter how frustrating the person may be trying to be, they would never be that for you. Right? Yeah, it's pretty amazing. The next one is kind of the fulcrum. It's what I call the tipping point. Joyful effort. Because you need joyful effort to be able to be generous and kind and patient even. And you need the effort to keep you going, to develop your concentration and really, you know, they say once you develop your concentration, once you develop your shamatha and you get to this platform, the physical benefit is that you have this practiced ease, which feels like joy. So then it's easy to have joyful effort, right? But it's the thing that keeps you, it's necessary for both. And then of course the fifth and sixth ones are concentration. Sometimes they translate it as concentration and meditation. In Sanskrit it's shamatha and vipassana. Vipassana different from vipassana, which is the very popular breath awareness meditation that very popular in Vancouver. There's a lot of really famous 10-day and 2-week retreats that you can go on, which are lovely. They're really, really exquisite training for single-pointed concentration. But in our lineage, that's considered preparatory. It's the stuff that you practice to prepare yourself to really then have a platform upon which meditation, and actually if you are studying yoga philosophy and practice at all, that's what the yogis say. They don't even call what we call meditation. You know, even all of the shamatha practice we're doing, they would still call that concentration. It's only when you're here and higher that they call it meditation, dhyana dharana, right? Like they, and actually, if you guys get the chance, on my Lama directives, I've been reading the Bihar School of Yoga books, and in particular, there's one that I'm totally fascinated. The Bihar, B-I-H-A-R, the Bihar School of Yoga from Bihar, India. It's the lineage that the Salt Spring Island Yoga School, Joni School, Lama Yavan School, the guru there is Baba Haridas, the silent sage. But these books out of India these are also the books that Geshe Michael and Lama Christie took into their 3-year retreats. And it's what our Lamas are doing the yoga comic book on, based on the practice of it. There's this book in that series. There's an amazing one, which is literally the Bible of asana practice, called Asana Mudra Bandha Pranayama. And yeah, and then there's an incredible book on the yoga of breath called Sawa Yoga. And then the one that I'm reading right now, which speaks exactly about this, is Kundalini Tantra. And that one gives the most scientific background and information. So it really speaks to the Western educated mind. But they talk about all of these different levels of stillness and concentration that you need to get to. That's real yoga, actually, when you get to that platform of stillness and that laser-like concentration, and you get the union of your bodhicitta and wisdom, of your love and compassion, which, by the way, folks, is Tibetan Heart Yoga Series 1, Diamond in the Rose, right? Love and compassion, love and truth, rather, wisdom and compassion. It's the ticket, it's the secret, it's your secret weapon, basically. So that's where we're getting to with the 6 perfections, okay? We're getting to this level of concentration that will then take us to meditation.
Perfection of giving, perfection of kindness, perfection of...
No. Yes. Perfection of giving, perfection of kindness.
Perfection of...
not getting angry, which is...
It's not joyful effort.
No, that's 4. Patience.
Patience, perfection of patience, perfection of joyful effort, perfection of
concentration,
and perfection of meditation.
Wisdom. And ultimate wisdom is seeing emptiness directly. Okay?
So why would they still be perfecting that if they already saw that back at level 1?
Well, they haven't actually, it's the perfectionizers, and I'm sorry, it's not that level 1 is the perfection of it, you're perfecting it on level 1. But you're practicing it until you get there. And so Lama Christie is famous for calling these the perfectionizers. And actually, as soon as you get your bodhisattva vows, this is what you're trying to, these are bodhisattva activity. Because actually you can't perfect them perfectly until you perfect the last one. So how is it that you can have completed Bhumi number 1, 2, 3, any of them, right? Mm-hmm. But it's because each one leads to the next. And so by the time you have perfected the last one, all of the perfections have made you perfect. So until then, we, as Lama Chukyi says, we fake it till we make it. We really do our best to perfect it to the highest capacity that we can. And then that takes us to, they naturally flow into the next ones. If any of you are members of the Drishti Point podcasts, Farah interviewed me for a whole series of 6 perfection. So we covered it over 5 weeks, actually. We did a 1-hour show on each of the 4, and then we spent the last hour on 5, 6. So that kind of gives you the cliff notes of the perfections. If you go on to, you have to be a member to listen to the archived things, but that might give you some more background too. Okay, so Lam Rim, right? So the 6 perfections are the main practice of everyone in the vehicle of the greater way, and then that will give you the step after that is to up until that point in the Lam Rim, you are on the sutra path. And then through the kindness of your teacher, through the virtue collected up to this point, you enter the diamond way, which is the tantric path. And then there are 2 levels there that you can master and achieve all of the goals to get to the end of the path, is the promise with Lam Rim. So that's the whole path. That's your whole guidebook. Now, the actual details of each of those are, you could spend, actually Geshe-la is going to be spending 10 years on He's giving the Bokar Rinpoche version, and that's exactly what they're doing right now, is going page by page through the Lam Rim in Phoenix. And Mexico, I think they did one in Mexico too, but I think 3 or 4 times a year he's giving Lam Rim teachings.
Is he gonna do it like every year or just
Yeah, until I think at the beginning
whole Lam Rim?
the whole Lam Rim.
Will it be useful? Will it be useful?
Some of it is available.
Everything is useful, absolutely.
Everything that he's taught so far, you can access it on the knowledge base.
It's a lot of information. A lot.
Very detailed. It's very exquisite. And the books are up there. The gold, red, and blue books on the second cubby to the right is the English translation. Gold, red, and blue. See the second cubby from the right? Very top shelf.
And there's one book. The Liberation in the Pattern.
Yes.
Oh, yes, yeah. So that basically is the path, but what Geshe-la says is that for all of it you need the Lam Rim. You need to, and it's very useful to kind of get a refresher. The my favorite reminder of all of this is Jitsun Kapa's Source of All My Good in 14 stanzas. Because it just gives you, especially if you've taken any courses like this, or any of Lama Tree's Path of Realizations, or any of Geshe-la's Lam Rim retreats, or listening to any of it, if you then look at Jitsun Kapa's Source of All My Good, it's like all the pieces of the puzzle start to become very, very clear. So I highly recommend keeping that in your 6-time book, or just having it handy to look at. Okay? Yeah. It was actually one of the first things I ever was compelled to memorize. Yeah. And that was before I even understood the merit of... Lama Christie says the synapses, or anyways, what you need to memorize, what you utilize to memorize, are the same mental muscles that you need for Vipassana. So it's memorizing is a really good technique for that Dharma training, for that Dharma gym. So at the time that I memorized Source of All My Good, it felt like something profound. By the time I got to the Heart Sutra, I was not allowed to memorize it in English. I was instructed to memorize it either in Chinese, Japanese, Sanskrit, or Tibetan. And I chose Sanskrit.
I thought you would be Japanese.
I thought so.
You know what? Heart Sutra in Japanese is ancient Japanese. It would be like learning it in ancient Greek.
Shakespeare English.
Well, not even that. Like, at least iambic pentameter still sounds like English, right?
That's different.
Whereas the Japanese sounds closer to Chinese than like that ancient Japanese. Although it's shorter. The Heart Sutra in Japanese and Chinese are identical in content, so they're shorter, definitely. They don't give the once I heard this teaching.
Yes, it's
As
just
the
close to
Conqueror
the
was
end.
saying on Wall Street Speak. See, I did memorize in English, but it didn't count. But any of those are really, and it's not about who can memorize what more or whatever language, but if you have any interest at all, I highly recommend that you choose whatever appeals to you and memorize it, because it really plants those precious, precious words into your mind stream. And just adds extra juice, right? So that is where we leave off with Course 9, which is actually a lovely preamble for Course 10, 11, and 12, which are the Bodhisattva activities. It's Master Shantideva's exquisite guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, which is basically a really, really beautiful explanation of the 6 perfections. Yeah, it's gorgeous. So next week we won't have ACI, but for those of you who can make it, it will be debate practice. And quite frankly, you could knock off all of your ACI 9 debate practice, your contemplation homework questions in that one session if you really came and brought them to the table. And then the following week, John and I will be starting ACI 10. Okay? So we're going to go for, I think, 3 classes, and then he and I have to go for some silent retreat teaching, so there will be no class in the first 2 weeks of August. And we're actually going to close the studio for public programming for those 2 weeks, and then we'll pick up again on the 3rd week and go of August, the 3rd week of August, we'll pick up again. We'll go all the way through, and then we will follow ACI 10 with ACI 17, which we just did the programming, and we will finish ACI 17 by Christmas. Okay? So let's dedicate. This was really, really awesome. Thank you so much for hanging in there in this heat. Sure.